Welcome to the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. I am David Erickson. I am with my co-host, BL Achman. We are recording live on YouTube on June 5, 2016. This week's topics include Mary Meeker's Internet Trends Report, virtual reality concerts, radar on a chip,
concert.
Facebook puppy cam, online racism, like-gating landlords, podcast audience ratings, emoji explosion, Facebook's deep text, and a lot more. We always start off with the worst story of the week, and BL always has the honors to kick it off. BL, what was the worst story?
Well, I seriously thought that Emmet Rensin's Twitter tirade about if Trump comes to your town, start a riot, when there was already riots going on, and he was in support of the anti-Trump protesters and told them they should double down on their rioting, and then he was suspended but not fired the next day. And Ezra Klein, who's the editor of Vox, said he said that direct encouragement of riots crosses a line between expressing a contrary opinion and directly encouraging dangerous illegal activity. We welcome a variety of viewpoints, but we do not condone writing that could put others in danger. In this case, Emmet's tweets violated Vox's standards, and Emmet has been suspended. Emmet has not been fired, and he refused to comment for the record. And then he tried to clarify and say that he endorsed riots as a response to fascism, but not violence. But when you read his tweets, he said it's, for one, let's be clear, it's never a shame to storm the barricades set up around a fascist. It was just completely over the top, and people got hurt. And this is not our America. This is not how we treat each other. This is not what should be going on in an election. I'm mortified by the whole thing, more so every day. But this was the worst thing I've seen yet.
Oh, it's the very definition of irresponsible speech. I mean, it's the yelling fire in a crowded theater kind of speech, pouring gasoline on an already lit fire. The guy, clearly is being irresponsible with that.
But he should have been fired. He should have been fired.
Yeah.
I don't think it was enough. I mean, I think when something like that happens, that has to be the end of that person. Tell us something a little lighter, Dave.
Well, yeah. Like-gating landlords. So this is an amusing story from the Next Web by Brian Clark. The tenants of City Park Apartments in Salt Lake City, Utah, got a notice stuck to their door recently from their landlord. It was a rental contract addendum that was taped to their doors and told them that they needed to like the apartment complex's Facebook page, or else they'd be in breach of their contract. So yeah, the addendum apparently was not reviewed by the landlord's attorneys. The notices have since been removed, but not before, of course, the local press got wind of it, which caused an outrage online that was so intense that Yelp had to actually put up an active cleanup alert, quote unquote, on the City Park Apartments Yelp page that said in part, while we don't take a stand one way or another when it comes to these news events, we do work to remove both positive and negative posts that appear to be motivated by more by the news coverage itself than the reviewer's personal consumer experience with the business. I don't know how I feel about that Yelp policy. I mean, I think, instances like this, news stories like this are a comment about how a business does their business, and I think it's kind of fair game. So anyway, that's an aside to this. The City of Park Apartments have felt the online wrath. Their Facebook page has been removed due to the intense criticism, and its ratings on apartmentratings.com. Apartments rating is down 13%. So, I mean, this is just brainless type of like gating your tenants.
Well, this is something the Yelp policy is something that I use a local cleaner I sent out my laundry for them to wash and fold. And one of the times that they did it, it didn't come back for a couple of days. And I really thought they'd lost it. And so I did a bad review on Yelp. I said, they're great if you don't care when your laundry comes back, or if it comes back. And they called me on that, and they said, please remove that. And I said, well, please deliver my freaking laundry. And I mean, but it's obviously very influential to have bad reviews on Yelp, but that's what it's there for. It's there for people to talk about their experiences. And if there's a news item that gets people to have an opinion, then I don't think Yelp should take that away.
And survey after survey indicates that one of the major things that factor into a decision whether to do business with a business or use a service is the manner in which they conduct their business. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And telling me I have to like them, I have to give them a check every month. That doesn't mean I have to like it. So there was a really outrageous racist Chinese detergent ad that went viral, and it shows. This is from a story in the South China Morning Post by Mimi Chan, and it shows a black man. He winks at and then whistles at a beautiful fair-skinned Asian woman, and he is stuffed into a washing machine with a detergent pack stuffed in his mouth, and she stuffs him in the washing machine, and the brand is Kiabi, and you hear him screaming. The thing has had 9.5 million views since May 26th, and after the washing machine stops because she shoved him in head first, she sits on the lid while he's screaming, and then moments later an Asian man emerges in clean clothes, and the woman grins, and people went nuts, and this is racist, this is insane. So the brand basically said lighten up. And I don't know if there's a word for irony in Chinese. I know there is no word for quality in Chinese, and they said the foreign media might be too sensitive about the ad, and he had no idea how it ended up online. And the funny part was it attracted little attention in China, less than 2,000 views on the Chinese video sharing site that's called Youku. And meanwhile it's going crazy here with almost 10 million views in the last week.
Well, there's two things about that story. I mean, one is we American marketers have long been cognizant of cultural differences and the importance to pay attention to cultural differences. In this case, the cultural difference is their lack of slavery in their history and our sad and regrettable long history of slavery, and how Americans react to that definitely showed in this instance. The other thing is, as I said, American marketers have had paid attention to other countries' cultural influences. This is an instance of a reverse of that. Chinese marketers need to pay attention to international cultural concerns as well, and this is one example of that.
Well, the part that got me was the representative of the company saying, "I don't know how that ended up online."
I know, right? I can't imagine something that we didn't intend to go online went online.
We had a different version. It didn't have a black guy in it. I mean, it just was funny that he would even say that. So back to sadder news. A Google Chrome extension called Coincidence Detector was removed after a large outcry, and it's an extension that white supremacists use to track what they think are Jewish names, and it was out there long enough to track 8,800 people. And what it basically does is, the reason it's called a coincidence detector is that its idea was to expose the identities of Jews and other people who they think are anti-white. And it was a user-generated list of Jewish names, and the extension works in the background while people browse the web and encase the names in the 3 sets of parentheses. So, for example, Achman with 3 parentheses around it. So it's sarcastically named Coincidence Detector because there is a conspiracy theory that suggests that all Jews are engaged in a bid to undermine society. And the parentheses were popularized by a right-wing website called Right Stuff, which suggested that all Jewish names have an echo, and the three parentheses are the echo. It can provide a signal to far-right groups to target named Jewish people with insults and threats of violence, and it's now being reclaimed by Jewish people who have added parentheses to their Twitter names. I've been trying to figure out how to add parentheses to my Twitter name. So far, I haven't been able to do it. But you know, how insane is that? That Google let that stand long enough for it to track 8,800 people.
That is fucking bizarre. But I mean, I don't know how Google technologically how they might notice it until somebody brought it to their attention, because it's a separate app basically running in the browser. So, but I mean, oh my God. But you know, the adding the three parentheses is the way to defang it, right? Claim it and just take the venom out of it. Just yeah.
That's what happened, and but I have not been able to figure out how to add the parentheses.
I think I can tell you how to do that. I think I know how to do it.
Okay, well, you
I can
tell
just
me
put
after.
it in your name. Yeah. Yep. So let's go on to better news, can we?
Oh yeah, well, Mary Meeker, who is just so beyond extraordinary, she did her annual Internet Trends report, and I saw it first in Recode, and the reporter was Ina Fried, and it's a like 156-page presentation, and it goes into the most stunning detail of all the tracking that she does during the year. And her basic three tenets are: the internet itself is slowing down, messaging is taking on the home screen, and voice search is big. I mean, those are basically the three things that she said. And clearly the desktop internet is slowing down and the mobile internet is taking over. And as a result of that, voice is getting more prominent. And so she's yet to be wrong. Let's put it that way. Mary Meeker is right every year, and I think she's been doing this for at least 15 years. So you definitely want to take a look at what Mary Meeker says.
It's always an impressive report and has tons and tons and tons and tons of data and charts. But if you're a designer, you'll probably want to stay away from it because it's the most monstrous design ever. I think last year, we talked about somebody who parodied the design by actually making it look pretty. So
Yeah,
but the one chart,
it's ugly every time. That's true.
the one chart that struck me is she had a chart that basically had crisscrossing lines that illustrated the rise in the amount of data, which is the upward trending line, and the falling trending line was the cost of storage. And that's an illustration of the rise of big data and how, you know, there's just those two trends indicate there's a ton of data being created, and of course you need that processing, which leads to and if you have a ton of data, you can feed your AI, you can feed your machine learning, develop your artificial intelligence algorithm. So that struck me as
Or
one
you
of the
could
trends.
use a designer. Hello, that's what they're there for. She works for an enormous, ginormous firm. You're telling me they don't have a designer who could help her with her freaking presentation? Or
That
she
would be.
could use SlideCraft. SlideCraft is really great, and they talked about it last week, and they just upgraded it this week and made it even better. And you know, it's a no-brainer to use. There's no excuse for presentations that look like that unless you're her.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, she can get away with it. So Facebook had a announcement recent announcement of artificial intelligence algorithm called Deep Text. It's a tool that they use. This is from a TechCrunch article by Josh Constantine. It's a new system that they started rolling out on Facebook Messenger. It will start rolling out on Facebook Messenger. Should say it recognizes signals that indicate, for example, when you need a ride. So it recognizes text based on its context, and you know, if you think about how you have messages with people, you might tell somebody in messaging that I need a ride. You might say I need a ride, but there's other versions of that. Should we get a ride? If you're planning something among a group of friends using a messaging like Facebook messaging, or should I get a car if you're planning on picking somebody up, or I'll pick you up in 15 minutes. Those are all variations of the same basic idea that deep text can figure out and respond to with appropriate responses, like connecting you with Uber. So this is what deep text does. It It could recognize, for example, you posting something for sale and then suggest a sales format for your status update that could include an option to input a price. It might recognize hate speech or harassment in messages and then prevent those messages from being delivered. And likewise, it could assign a reputation score for people who are participating in hate speech or harassment, and basically, contribute to them getting a warning or getting their account shut down. It could also theoretically vastly improve their awful search function if it understands text that well. Facebook's notoriously bad search function might improve based on this deep text technology. So stay tuned and see how this rolls out.
Well, they also rolled out new emojis this week, 150 of them. Emojis are rolling out all over the place, and these are more diverse. And these have, including women in real jobs, women firefighters, and there has been a real lack of diversity among emojis, but it's about time that this happened. And Facebook is also rolling out new reactions in Messenger, like scores of them, so that instead of just I like, I love, whatever, there's like emojis for all sorts of different things that you can say. But I don't have it yet, so I wasn't able to try it, but they're very busy beefing up Messenger, that's for sure.
Yeah. So Brian May, Brian May, the guitarist for Queen. He's apparently he's a very, very, very smart guy. This is from a CNET article by Richard Trenholm. Brian May's Queen's guitarist wants people to know what it's like to play guitar from the roof of Buckingham Palace in front of 200 million people, as he did for the Queen's Golden Jubilee celebrations in 2002. The article quotes him saying, "I'd love people to know what that felt like. It was a whole life-changing experience for me. I'll bet that'd be freaking awesome." Queen recently filmed its Barcelona concert with 360-degree cameras that zoomed around the gig on a 4-point wire system suspended from over the crowd. But now, because they've got that footage, you'll be able to experience the concert both on stage and from within the crowd by watching it through a wallet-friendly 3D VR viewer developed by May himself. It's called the Owl. It's like Google Cardboard, but the Owl viewer holds a smartphone in front of two lenses. It has open sides where you can control your phone screen, so you can tap on your phone screen to control it, and you can slide the screen closer or further away from your eyes to focus the 3D effect. It'll be available in mid-June for £25 from the London Stereoscopic Company. It's a concern backed by May, and he apparently isn't like an astrophysicist, I think I read. So
It's so cool. Is that £25? That's $50, I think.
I have no idea, but
yeah, I think so.
Sounds about right.
$1 not worth a lot. Well, that's pretty awesome. That really is. 360 video is pretty awesome. It often makes me dizzy though, and I like the idea that his app lets you touch your phone, because when it's inside the Google player, you can't. And
Yep.
There's times when like the video will go off or something like that.
Right.
So, but people are confusing. There's confusion about what is 360 and what is virtual reality. And I think that that's going to go on for quite a long time. And didn't you do something last week or the week before about how many people have no idea what virtual reality is?
Well, right. I mean, the virtual reality is it's basically, the way I explain it, it's like being inside of a video game. It's a completely immersive experience where the virtual environment is all around you, and it's kind of hard to determine. I mean, that's the ideal of virtual reality, kind of hard to determine what's real and what's not. 360 video is just video that you can pan around in. So you can watch 360 video on YouTube and Facebook, and use your cursor, your finger to pan around the video and see 360 degrees. But it's not a complete immersive experience like virtual reality is. supposed to be.
Well, it remains to be seen how virtual reality is going to develop, because right now the need for the headset is a real deterrent to an awful lot of people. And, like a lot of people, I'm not about to spend $200 or $600 on a headset that's going to be obsolete in 5 minutes. And I think that unless you're the kind of gearhead that some of us might be, Dave, that you wouldn't do that either.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other part is with virtual reality is nausea. A lot of people
Oh
experience
yeah, it
nausea.
makes me nauseous and dizzy. And like when I was doing the one that was at the virtual reality conference I went to a couple of weeks ago, you were supposed to turn around, and I was like holding on to the table. But that's because they're going too fast. That's because they need to slow the camera down. This is all really new. These are really early days. What we're seeing now, we're going to see in 6 months is totally different.
Yep.
But it's all so exciting because it's new.
Yeah.
And the potential is so great. So not nearly as exciting, but Facebook has now enabled continuous live videos so that it can go on for a long time. It's going, and live mobile video is going beyond selfie stream rants and citizen journalism. And so now Facebook's going to allow nonstop long form broadcasting, as long as the creators don't mind that they can't save it, which is kind of interesting. But the new API enables persistent streams like nature feeds and 24-hour windows to major landmarks, or cameras trained on a pit full of puppies. So you'll be able to broadcast a whole conference. Our colleague Albert Marugi was doing videos of bears waking up in the springtime.
Yeah.
You'd be able to do that. So instead of just streaming from your phone, this new API lets more professional broadcasters use high-grade cameras and mixing boards and effects, and they can control who sees their live video. So paying for this stuff is only 5 minutes away from now, but the trade-off is there's no option to let people replay it or rewind. But it relieves Facebook from the server costs of having to host the videos. And the trade-off is that there's just no option to keep it. But nonetheless, what a big jump that is in the technology.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's or live cable news broadcasts. I mean, that's what I think it's all about. Is they want the live television news broadcasts to be going live on Facebook, so you're not watching it on TV.
So
you're
you
watching it on
never leave
Facebook.
Facebook.
So you
You're
never
on
leave Facebook.
all the
Exactly.
time,
If there's
all day
breaking
and all
news,
night.
you go to
Right.
Facebook to watch the breaking news, because that's what people do when there's breaking news. They turn to cable television to watch what's going on in live, as a live feed. But if you get on Facebook, that's their whole thing. They want news there. So anyway, speaking of kind of news, Medium, the blogging platform Medium, has 5 new features. This is from Medium itself. Kara Meverden wrote this post. They've rolled out 5 new features, including full text RSS feed. So they didn't have full text feeds before. So people can now read the stories within their feed reader if they want to, rather than having to go to Medium to read the whole article. The views for those feed reads will be included in Medium Analytics. So you'll get credit for those in your analytics. Custom URL slug, so you can edit your story URL now for search optimization and include the keywords you want in your URL. I didn't realize they didn't have that. That's probably one of the reasons that prevented me from doing a Medium blog, aside from the fact that I have a zillion blogs already. Persistent navigation bar, so it will appear on stories rather than just the home page. So the top navigational bar will appear. It'll hide when the readers reading an article, but reappear when they try to navigate somewhere else on the blog. Navigation bar linking, so you'll be able to link to individual stories in addition to tag category pages from the navigation bar. And then branded profiles, custom domain, so you can use your custom domain with Medium. They'll get a publication-specific profile, so when users click on an author byline, the profile page will include publication branding and display only the stories the author wrote for that publication. publication. So, some free publications that use freelancers might have a feed, an author feed that has articles from other publications included in that author byline page. This eliminates that and just includes only your publication's articles. So there you go.
So in other words, it's getting a lot more like WordPress.
It is. It's getting me to think I need to try it out. I feel like
I occasionally write for Medium, and I find that I don't get very much feedback, or who knows how many people see it because they didn't used to tell you. Now maybe they will, but I haven't gotten a lot of traction on it. But it's always got interesting articles, so
Yeah.
I do read it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that has been an issue for the podcast industry, which is growing by leaps and bounds, is measuring the monthly listeners, the unique monthly listeners. And my friend E.B. Moss wrote an article about this in Media Village. It's a two-part article. And, that unique monthly listener count is one of the most sought-after stats by the ad community. And now the PodTrack has launched a free podcast industry audience rankings for U.S. listeners. Some question its usefulness, but the founder, Mark McCreary, founder of PodTrack, says it's a service to the industry and a way to raise all the boats in the sea of new podcasts and get ad sponsor interest. That remains to be seen, and this is what we were talking about before the show. It's going to have to be adopted by the industry by everybody, before it's going to gain any kind of traction.
So how does it do the ranking? I mean, one, do you apply to it as a podcaster? Do you give them your stats, or I mean, how do they do the ranking?
I think that it's measuring platforms, not individual. I think if your podcast is on, I think iTunes. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't know.
Right.
I have to look into that.
You definitely need, so in order to attract sponsors, you need some independent audit service to verify basically your audience. Bloggers need that too, by the way. It's I mean, how do you, as a marketer and you're trying to reach bloggers, how do you know whether one blogger has an audience or another? You don't, unless they tell you, and who knows. Anyway, this is a fascinating story. Google it always has fascinating stories. So here's another one. This is from The Verge by Dieter Bahn, and he reports on Google's Project Soli. So this has been around actually for a year. I saw articles dating back to a year, but I just became aware of it because I came across this article. It's Google has taken radar technology basically and shrunk it to the size of a chip. So they can put basically radar on a computer chip. So if you put it small enough, then you can use radar to control gestures, to recognize gestures. Because everybody knows how radar works. It sends out a signal and records the bouncing off of an object and sends it back. And apparently now with if you shrink it down small enough, you can actually control a touch screen with it. So you don't need to actually touch the screen. The radar recognizes gestures with just far more precision than cameras. So Microsoft's Kinect uses cameras to recognize gestures. Radar has much more precision. It can sense movement up to 2 to 3 feet away at 10,000 frames per second. So consider a camera's high resolution at 60 frames per second. That's 10,000 frames per second. So if you look at the videos of it, you can actually see demonstrations of people activating a smartwatch using gestures of their fingers, and it's much more natural use of controlling an interface. You get to do away with all the icons that you use on a screen to control the screen, right? So now it's just the screen if you're just using hand gestures. So the potential uses obviously are controlling a smartwatch. You could control speaker volume, like putting your hand in front of and further away. You could control the speaker volume. Snapping your fingers could turn it on and off. Think about using it for digital drawing or painting. This is still in development stages, but they're working with electronics companies like JBL to enable it, and their goal obviously is to radar enable consumer electronics. Very cool development.
That is indeed very cool. I mean, there is no other company besides Google that tries as many things and just kind of floats things up the flagpole to see if anybody salutes. The
Yep.
problem is that, you know, if you like it and if you invest in it with either time or money, they may equally just say, well, we're tired of that, or we're going on to the next thing, or we're going to the moon now, or whatever the hell it is they're doing. You know, they've disappointed business owners enough times that even something as exciting as that, you have to have like trepidation about it. And I don't know if
Yeah, I
that's a
think
good
that's the
thing.
case when they're marketing something directly to consumers like the Google Glass was, but in this
Yeah,
case they're working with actual manufacturers of consumer electronics. So, you know, those
we'll
people aren't going to
see.
make decisions until it's ready for prime time. One would assume.
One should never assume anything. Didn't your mother tell you that? So, so I don't know if you remember Chat Roulette. That was around for about 5 minutes, talking about things that come and go. But that came from Napster's co-founder Sean Parker, and he's brought back another group chat, and it's Airtime, and it's relaunching on iOS and Android. And basically, he launched it in 2011 as a live video chat site, Chat Roulette. There was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of endorsements from Snoop Dogg and Olivia Munn and Martha Stewart, and then it went away. But right now, a lot of brands are already looking at it as a place to get formidable levels of recognition, and they're getting lead generations, and it's got some very, very interesting features. It's compatible with YouTube, it's compatible with Twitter and Facebook, and it's something that, you know, you really need to take a look at. Small businesses ultimately stand to make huge gains from getting involved with this platform, and so we'll have to see where it goes and what happens to it. And I've been playing around with it a little bit, and I'll let you know more when I know more.
Sounds good. Are we on to shiny new stuff?
No, I have another one, and I love this. This is really good news. I want this to happen in America. France has banned after work hours emails. You know, the question is, should governments get involved in that? But they appear to think yes. And President Francois Hollande's Socialist Party is about to vote through the measure that's going to give employees the right to disconnect. Companies with more than 50 employees are going to be obliged to draw up a charter of good conduct, setting out the hours, normally in the evening and the weekend, when the staff are not supposed to send or answer emails. I applaud that. I think
That
that's
should be in worst. That should
fabulous.
absolutely be in worst. That's a horrible idea. Leave it to France to come up with it. Where's the innovation coming out of France?
Excuse
No,
me, what makes that a horrible idea? I don't answer
horrible
email.
idea.
Why? You want to work 24/7? I don't.
I already do.
Well, I don't.
Yeah,
If you
no,
want to
no, it's
email
just
me on Sunday, that's
uh,
really fine, and I'll answer you on Monday. If you want to
yeah.
email me at 11 o'clock at night, I will not know that because I am not online at 11 o'clock at night. But I do know that this is something that is in the culture of a lot of agencies and companies, and I want to live like that. I'm going to France.
All right. Goodbye.
Don't let the door slam you on your way out, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. So that does bring us to shiny new stuff, and I came up with a very nice new note-taking app called Notebook, and it lets you take notes and make checklists and record audio and capture moments, and it's available for iOS and Android. It syncs to the cloud, and it's much cooler than just regular notes that comes on your phone or your computer. I like it better than Evernote so far.
I like the recording audio over
Yeah, I like that a
aspect of
lot.
it. Yeah.
I like that a lot. What do you got?
Librestock. Librestock is a site, librestock.com. You can search 43 free stock photo websites that have nearly 50,000 images that are royalty free. They have Creative Commons zero licenses, so all the photos it searches for have Creative Commons zero licenses, which means you can use them for your personal or commercial uses. You can modify or redistribute the photos. There's no attribution necessary. It's a really effective way of finding good stock photos photos that are royalty free and don't look like stock photos, and you can use for commercial purposes. So that's a cool one. Lastly, Amazon Echo has a web app. This is from The Verge story by Dan Seifert. Amazon Echo API is available for developers to build apps for their platform. Amazon calls the app Skills, and the company has released a website to help developers test their skills with Alexa. It's called echoism.io. You log in with your Amazon credentials, and you can try out you can try out Alexa if you don't already have an Echo. So if you just want to play around and see what Echo is like, you can try it out. If you're a developer and developing skills for Echo, you can use that to test out your skills.
Very cool. We just started a torrential rainstorm. You may be hearing thunder any second now. I hear people screaming in the street because they didn't have umbrellas. So I noticed this week with in Drive that Synergyse, which used to be separate, is now part of Google Apps training and part of Drive. And it's got it tells you how to use absolutely every feature of Drive. And it's kind of like when I still don't know all the things my phone can do, and I bet most people don't. I had no idea that Drive could do half the things that it does, and it's just built in right now, and it sits up on the top of the page. I don't know if you noticed it, Dave, but it'll ask if you want to know things, and it'll tell you what's new, and it's a great little app. It's really worth having.
Oh, cool. Cool. On to projects.
Sure.
You were quoted, BL.
Oh, yeah. I got quoted along with 83 other people on customer service in a post. 83 experts share advice in the age of the customer. And basically that was in Nanorep, which is an app or something. I don't know. They what exactly it is, but I took the part of it that I wrote for them, and it's on my blog if you want to read it, and there'll be a link to it on their site. And I also started a Nuzzel Newsletter, which is basically news from me and my friends, and we'll save you. It's nuzzle.com/what's next, and it will save you a lot of time because I spend half my life reading and curating content, and so do so many of the people who I know and follow, and so that I am curating basically the top stories that come to my attention on a daily basis that I think might be of interest to you as well. So subscribe.
Very cool. Definitely subscribe to that. So I was quoted too in a story by Lisa Lacey for the Search Engine Journal about Facebook reactions. So I took kind of that as a jumping off point to write a blog post for my agency's blog about sentiment analysis and the problem with sentiment analysis. Basically, algorithms have a really hard time, we've discussed this before, of recognizing sarcasm and irony. So social listening tools have a problem with sentiment analysis for that very reason. Now, they're really good in popular culture conversations, but they're not really good, but they're better in popular culture conversations that have a critical mass of a ton of data of people talking about it. The sentiment analysis tends to be better. But when you get down to more like B2B conversations and that there isn't that critical mass, the sentiment analysis is pretty awful, actually. But now with Facebook's emojis or Facebook's reactions, they've got the complete context of conversations and emotional reactions people have to content. So that's what my blog post is about. Basically, the things that Facebook is doing with their Facebook reactions. Consider that you might be able to target in the future ads based on people's emotional reactions to content. You'd be able to more precisely target people through Facebook advertising, which is kind of hard to imagine because it's pretty precise right now. So anyway, we'll have links to those stories in the show notes.
Well, the thing about sentiment analysis is that it's never going to be able to tell you where to place "I love you fucking guys." It has no way to know that. And no matter how you try to train it, and I've tried it with so many different platforms, it really hasn't worked yet.
Yep. Yep. So, daily numbers. Let's wrap this up with the numbers. Social media sites where Americans get their news. This is from Pew Internet and American Life Project. This should come as little surprise. 66% of Facebook users get news on the site. 59% of Twitter users get news on Twitter. So the 2/3 of Facebook users who get their news there amount to 44% of the general population. For Twitter, that's 9% of the general population. But consider the way that people use Facebook versus Twitter. So Facebook, they're on for a variety of reasons, mostly to stay in touch with family and friends, and they happen to get news there while they're doing that. But they also, scrolling through their news feed is a big aspect of that, and Facebook has been promoting news. So it's not surprising there's a lot of people getting news on Facebook. Twitter, on the other hand, people often use Twitter solely to find news, to go to it to find news. And when the breaking news goes out, people often go to Twitter first for breaking news among the social networks. So interesting stats there, but just goes to show you PR, social media and PR are intertwined these days more and more.
That's absolutely true. And I, as soon as I hear sirens, I go to look at Twitter to see what's going on. I mean, I have never seen mainstream media beat Twitter to the news in all the years since it started in 2007. So that does bring us to the end of the show. And later, this was episode 145. We'd love you to leave us a review on our blog, which is beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. David Erickson is on Twitter, where he's at D. Erickson. And he blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and CreativePR.com/blog, both of which are fantastic newsletters that you should subscribe to so you don't miss his content. I'm B.L. Uckman. I'm at What's Next on Twitter. I blog at What's Next blog. I contribute to Ad Age. I run Maximum Plus for live streamed events and video. The show is BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We are on YouTube. We are on Stitcher. We are on iTunes, and we're on Google Play. On Twitter, we're at BS Media Show, and we will be back next week, same time, same station. So we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.